The World Health Organization calls it one of the top 10 health threats of the year. Its official label is vaccine hesitancy, but in some circles it's more like an outright rebellion. Now, with measles on the rise, health officials are fighting back. Our cover story is reported by Dr. Jon LaPook.
They're making a Apollo 11 flag. Apollo 11 flag.
What?
I felt like I destroyed him. And for a long time, I thought that was my fault.
For years, 33-year-old Arabella Bloom, a mother of 3 living in Michigan, mistakenly blamed herself for her son's autism.
I felt like everyone was looking at me going, what did you do? You know, how could you do this to him? And I was looking at Alex going, how could I do this to him?
That's because he was diagnosed shortly after receiving the vaccine for measles, mumps, and rubella, or MMR. Then, a friend pointed her to the dozens of medical studies showing the vaccine does not cause autism.
And I started looking through them, and then I was at another crossroads where I was like, but this was all my fault for so long. And then I was crying because I was wrong about that.
Bloom is living proof that the antidote to misinformation about vaccines is science.
I was relieved because I didn't hurt him.
Alex will be so giant.
His autism wasn't my fault.
There's also 2 confirmed cases of measles in Orange County.
The current outbreaks of measles around the country are largely a result of parents being afraid to vaccinate their children against the virus. The number one concern, autism.
And we're talking about our kids.
But the upsurge in the anti-vaccine movement in the last 20 years was ignited by a 1998 study in The Lancet, a prestigious British journal, that falsely linked the MMR vaccine with autism. It took 12 years for the journal to retract the study after investigations concluded the research was fraudulent. The lead author was stripped of his medical license, but the damage was done.
I bled anti-vaccine talk. There's all kinds of crazy stuff on the internet. The majority of people are like me. They're not super crazy. They're just trying to find the real answers to stuff.
So what does cause autism? That answer has been slow to come, partly because of the enormous detours researchers were forced to take following the Lancet article.
What kind of damage do you think that did?
Irreparable damage for several reasons.
Charles Nelson is a professor of pediatrics at Harvard Medical School and a neuroscientist at Boston Children's Hospital.
First, it led many parents to stop vaccinating their kids for no reason. Second, it derailed the course of science by investing all this money to prove that vaccines didn't cause autism rather than try to understand what does cause autism. It was a big diversion.
Despite that diversion, the science of autism is slowly emerging. About 100 genes have been linked to the disorder so far, and the overwhelming scientific consensus is that vaccines do not cause autism. Why then do some parents remain unconvinced?
I think one thing that is concerning to parents and to scientists is we don't know what causes autism. And because of that big uncertainty and because 1 in 59 children have autism, we try to latch on to some explanation.
Nelson has spent the last 14 years trying to understand autism.
Wow.
He's currently studying the brain activity of babies who have siblings with autism and therefore have an increased chance of having the condition themselves.
So what are we seeing here?
So we're seeing, as you go down in this direction, each line represents one sensor on the head. So there's 128 sensors. And as we page through this way, we're looking at the continuous EEG. That is the electrical signal that these billions of neurons generate that we pick up at the scalp surface. It looks for patterns that indicate this. If you see this pattern at 3 months, you're likely to see autism at 3 years.
To understand the profound implication of Nelson's research, you need to know a crucial fact. The first dose of MMR vaccine is usually not given until a baby is 12 months old. So his research means this.
Our work is suggesting that we're seeing signs of autism, at least in the brain, as early as 3 to 6 months of age, long before the MMR vaccine has been given. So clearly it can't be related to a vaccine because the vaccines haven't been given yet.
Do you think the logic and the science at this point with the anti-vaccine movement spreading, is that going to do it?
No. One thing I'm concerned about is that even though the science is overwhelming that vaccines don't cause autism, there's still people who think vaccines cause autism.
The vast majority of people who are not vaccinating are not the staunch anti-vaccine movers who will never vaccinate their children no matter what.
Attorney and mother of two Nadine Gartner founded an organization in Portland, Oregon called Boost.
We're really concerned about reaching the parents in the middle, those who feel fearful and confused by the information flying around on all sides.
Boost holds local workshops led by pediatricians to help parents figure out who and what to believe, especially since the anti-vaccine rhetoric extends beyond MMR to the many other childhood immunizations recommended by health officials.
What does not work?
It doesn't work to tell parents what to do. We know every parent wants to make the best health decisions for their children. So I want to make sure that when parents are examining the facts, that they understand exactly what's scientific, what's not, and to really be able to separate the truth from the fiction.
Boost is a nonprofit organization. Gardner says they do not take donations from any special interest groups, including the pharmaceutical industry.
I really love helping inform families and helping them make that informed choice.
Dr. Joel Amundsen is a Portland pediatrician who volunteers his time to answer questions at the Boost workshops.
My take is that you've got kind of on one side people really scaring you of what might happen if you do something, and on the other side people scaring you of what might happen if you don't do something.
So how do you get parents to move forward?
Without focusing on the fear tactics, but really just understanding the different risks and benefits involved.
Dr. Joel, as he's known to his patients, says he has a 99% vaccination rate in his clinic, higher than the percentage needed to maintain something called herd immunity. That means if enough people get vaccinated, it protects people who are not able to be vaccinated. So when parents decide not to give the MMR, they're rolling the dice not just for their child, but for other people, including babies under 12 months and people with cancer or weakened immune systems.
Your voice is very gentle, your approach is soft. How important is that?
I think it matters a great deal. A huge part of the conversation is building trust and knowing that we're not trying to push anything onto families. We know that approach doesn't work. I've had patients that have done not a single vaccine for 5 years and then turned around and chosen to do them.
Many people questioning vaccines have forgotten that viruses such as measles, polio, and smallpox used to kill millions of people around the world every year. Before the measles vaccine was available in 1963, 3 to 4 million Americans were infected each year. 400 to 500 died, 48,000 were hospitalized, and about 1,000 suffered severe inflammation of the brain. Dr. Amundsen explains to parents that there are rare, serious side effects from vaccines. But his bottom line is clear. For the person getting the vaccine, the benefits far outweigh the potential risks. Consider this. In 2017 alone, approximately 110,000 people died globally from the measles, mostly children under 5, despite the availability of an effective and safe vaccine.
I found the vast majority of people that are hesitant, that are nervous about it, really are just hesitant. They're concerned about stuff that they've read. They just want to do the right thing for their kids.
My little lily bug.
Arabella Bloom empathizes with parents who just want to do the right thing.
It's fear and love, and it's fear of doing the wrong thing and loving your kids so much that you'll go against an entire, scientific community telling you you're wrong just to try and protect them.
But now, looking down at her healthy newborn baby girl, Lily.
The funny thing is that with Alex, I can remember looking down and thinking, I love him too much. I can't vaccinate him. I can't hurt him that way. And now with her, I look down and I have the same thought, only opposite, where it's like, I love her so much, I can't take her out of the house until I vaccinate her. Each comes from a place of love.